My sister-in-law resents me because her parents favor me, and she even tried to steal the spotlight at our wedding with her own announcement. I always had a gut feeling my sister-in-law didn't like me, but I didn't expect her to try and hijack my wedding weekend just to make a point. Let me back up. I'm married into a big, loud, tightly wound family. Italian American on both sides, lots of dinners, lots of traditions, lots of opinions. My husband, Evan, is the youngest of three. His brother moved across the country years ago, but his older sister, Jenna, still lives in town, 15 minutes from their parents' house. She's the golden child and the headache all in one. Big personality, likes to host, talks with her hands. Every story becomes a performance. She was never outright cruel to me, not in a way you could call out, but there was always this air of quiet tension when I was in the room, like I was getting credit for something that should have been hers. When Evan and I got engaged, everything seemed fine at first. His parents were thrilled. His mom cried. His dad clapped Evan on the back like he'd closed a real estate deal. Jenna hugged me and said, "Welcome to the circus, sis." She even offered to help with planning. I thought it was sweet. I thought maybe we were turning a corner. That optimism lasted about 2 weeks. It started small. She texted constantly. Ideas for venues, color schemes, catering themes. She called the baker I was considering and grilled them about delivery policies before I'd even placed a deposit. She told me I needed to think bigger when I said I wanted a simple garden wedding. She criticized my dress budget, said my first choice made my shoulders look too broad, her words, not mine. And when I tried to gently push back, she'd always say, "Sorry, I just want it to be perfect and for both of us." I remember pausing when she said that, both of us. It was my wedding, not hers, not ours, mine and Evan's. But she kept inserting herself, and the thing is, I didn't want drama. I didn't want to create problems in a family that had accepted me so openly. So I let things slide. I said thank you too often. I acted grateful when I felt increasingly suffocated. The real crack started showing when we were over at their parents' house for dinner one night. Evan's mom asked how planning was going. I started to answer, but Jenna jumped in and launched into a full report. What flowers I should go with, which DJ was overrated, why her coworker's daughter's wedding was a Pinterest fail and a cautionary tale. She talked for 10 minutes straight while I just sat there, quietly watching everyone nod along. Then, in the middle of it, Evan's mom interrupted and said something like, "Well, whatever they decide, I'm just glad Evan found someone like you, sweetie. You've been such a grounding presence." It was meant as a compliment, but I saw Jenna's face tighten. Not dramatically, not enough for anyone else to notice. But I saw it. A flash of something, jealousy, annoyance, maybe even rage, pass across her features before she smiled and sipped her wine. That's when I realized something important. I hadn't done anything wrong. She didn't dislike me because I was rude or entitled or dramatic. She disliked me because her parents liked me, because Evan liked me, because I hadn't earned their affection through years of performance. I'd simply existed, and they gave it to me. After that, her behavior got weirder. At my bridal shower, she showed up 40 minutes late, wearing white. Now, I'm not one to gatekeep dress colors, but it was a floor-length, lacy, bridal kind of white. The kind you notice. She walked in holding an enormous wrapped gift and made a huge show of handing it to me. Said I had to open it first because it was from the whole family. I peeled back the wrapping paper and found a custom-made photo collage of Evan and Jenna as kids, framed and mounted like a museum exhibit. In the corner, a small metal plaque read, "Siblings, first friends, forever." Everyone clapped awkwardly. I smiled, thanked her, and quietly set it aside. It wasn't a bad gift. It just wasn't a gift for me. It was a gift for the room, for the moment, for the eyes on her. And maybe I could have moved on from that. Maybe I would have kept pretending, smiling, brushing things off. But then came the rehearsal dinner. It was held at a small restaurant Evan's parents had reserved. Private room, intimate, just close friends and family. We were midway through dinner when someone tapped their glass with a fork. We turned. It was Jenna. She stood up with her hand on her stomach and a smile so wide it felt plastered on. Then she said something I will never forget. "I didn't want to take away from this special weekend, but since you're all here, I wanted to let you know I'm pregnant." The room went completely still. I blinked. Evan blinked. His mom let out a quiet, "Oh," and then clapped her hands together slowly. A few people congratulated her. Toasts were raised. And just like that, our wedding weekend, something Evan and I had spent months pouring our time, money, and energy into, was no longer about us. It was about Jenna, her baby, her moment. Evan squeezed my knee under the table. I kept smiling. I didn't say a word, not yet. I didn't sleep after the rehearsal dinner. I just lay there next to Evan in the hotel room we'd booked for convenience, staring at the ceiling while he snored lightly beside me. I wasn't angry. I wasn't crying. I felt blank, like someone had reached into my chest and flicked the off switch. My brain kept looping her words. Since you're all here, I just wanted to share, like she was doing us a favor. Like hijacking our rehearsal dinner for her pregnancy announcement was the generous thing to do. I mean, who does that? You don't accidentally make a life announcement in the middle of someone else's wedding weekend. It's not a oops kind of thing. You plan it, you time it, you look around and say, now. You wait until the wine is poured and the room is full, and then you hit play on your personal highlight reel. She knew exactly what she was doing. Evan, for his part, tried to excuse it. She probably just got caught up in the moment, he said, brushing his teeth like we were talking about someone tripping over a rug. You know how Jenna is. Yeah, I did. The next morning, I got ready with my bridesmaids in the bridal suite. I kept waiting for that magic feeling, the one every bridal blog says you're supposed to get on your wedding day. All I felt was pressure. My chest tight, like I'd been holding my breath for hours. My best friend noticed. She asked if I was okay, and I nodded. What was I going to say? No, I'm not okay because Evan's sister can't stand not being the center of attention, and now I'm worried she's going to make my actual wedding a footnote in her maternity saga? My mom arrived with pastries and sat beside me by the window. She didn't ask any questions, just held my hand and said, "Don't let anyone else decide what today means for you." I tried to carry that with me, I really did. Then Jenna showed up. Late? Again. She made a big entrance, loud apologies about traffic, exaggerated hugs, comments about how the glam team crushed it. And the dress, blush pink, tight, satin, practically white in the sunlight. She looked like she was attending the Oscars, not her brother's wedding. People noticed. I saw my aunt lean toward my cousin and whisper something. My best friend raised an eyebrow at me. I didn't react. She hovered. She asked the venue coordinator what time cocktail hour started, even though we'd gone over it twice. She told the florist one of the arrangements looked off-center and moved it herself. I was getting dressed when I heard her ask one of my bridesmaids if there was any chance we're doing a baby-friendly toast later. I walked out of the room and found her near the bathrooms. Hey, she said, all smiles. Quick thing, do you think I could say something during the reception? Just a little toast. I already knew what she wanted. I could feel it in my stomach like spoiled milk. What kind of toast? I asked. She tilted her head and smiled like we were sharing a joke. You'll see. Just something short. No, I said, calmly but clearly. No announcements at the reception. She blinked. Seriously? Why? Because it's our wedding, I said, and you already had your moment. She let out a dry laugh. Wow, I didn't realize you were so bitter. I'm not bitter, I replied. I'm just done pretending I'm okay with being sidelined at my own wedding. She didn't say anything else, just turned and walked away like I was the one who'd crossed the line. I hoped that would be the end of it. It wasn't. After the ceremony, which was thankfully perfect, we made it to the reception. Everyone was in good spirits. Dinner was amazing, speeches were heartfelt, and I started to think maybe the worst was behind us. Then, during the cake cutting, Jenna got the microphone. She stood up before I even noticed where she was, holding her wine glass, and said she wanted to give a toast to her baby brother and his radiant bride. Evan started to stand, but I touched his arm and shook my head. Let her finish. Her speech started out innocent. She told a sweet story about Evan as a kid, how he used to make her pancakes with ketchup when their parents were out. People laughed. She talked about how proud she was of the man he'd become. Then she shifted gears. And now, she said, resting a hand on her belly, as someone who's also about to start a new chapter. She paused. Dramatic timing. I just hope my little boy grows up to be as kind and loyal as his Uncle Evan. And that was it. She revealed the gender, announced it like a firework. Applause. Gasps. It's a boy, someone shouted. A few guests stood to toast her. Her husband gave her a big theatrical kiss. She sat down beaming like she'd won something. And maybe she had. She'd managed to make the entire day orbit around her. Again. I don't remember much after that. I smiled through photos, danced when people pulled me onto the floor, hugged relatives I barely knew. And when the night was over, I climbed into the car with Evan and felt like I'd just survived a performance instead of celebrated a milestone. Back in our hotel suite, I took off my dress in silence. Evan stood by the window, undoing his tie. She shouldn't have done that, he said finally. I didn't answer. You know how she is, he added. That phrase again. I turned to him. Why do you keep saying that like it's a reason to excuse her? Because it's easier than fighting, he said. It's not worth ruining the night over. But she already did, I said. And you let her. He didn't reply. He slept on the couch that night. In the morning, we boarded the plane for our honeymoon. I stared out the window the whole way. I wasn't thinking about beaches or cocktails or sightseeing. I was thinking about what it means when someone you love keeps choosing silence, keeps choosing comfort over you. And I was starting to realize maybe Jenna wasn't the only one I needed space from. Something shifted after the honeymoon. We got home, unpacked, returned to normal life, but nothing about it felt normal. Evan went back to work. I cleaned the apartment, made lists, stared at unopened wedding gifts. We moved through our routine like strangers rehearsing lines from a play we didn't audition for. He started falling asleep on the couch. I started staying up late, scrolling through wedding photos I couldn't bring myself to post. Every time I got close to sharing one, I saw her face in the background, or her hand resting dramatically on her stomach. And I closed the app. We paid for a photographer and ended up with a highlight reel of Jenna's performance. A few days after we got back, Evan's mom invited us to dinner, said Jenna would be there. She wants to talk, she added, like that was some kind of peace offering. I said no. Evan said it might help, said his mom made lasagna and was excited to see us. I gave in, not for Jenna, not for Evan, but because I was tired of being the only one who seemed to care that our wedding had been hijacked. When we arrived, Jenna greeted me like we were old college friends bumping into each other at Target. You look so rested. Marriage suits you. All teeth, no sincerity. I sat down, ate my salad, said nothing. Halfway through dinner, she brought it up, the speech, said she hoped it hadn't been too much, and that she just got caught up in the love. Her voice was light, measured, like she'd practiced it in a mirror. I put my fork down. It was too much, I said. The room went quiet. I'm glad you're excited about your pregnancy, I added, but you had 9 months to tell people. You didn't need to make it about you at our wedding. She blinked like she couldn't believe I said it out loud. I'm not mad you're pregnant, I said. I'm mad you planned your announcement around a day that wasn't yours, and no one stopped you. Her smile fell. She looked at Evan, then her mom. Her mom looked down at her plate. Evan stayed silent. Jenna let out a fake laugh. Wow, you're still so bitter. I pushed my chair back. I'm not bitter. I'm just done pretending it didn't happen. I stood up, thanked Evan's parents for dinner, and walked out. Evan followed me to the car. She didn't mean it that way, he said. I don't care how she meant it, I replied. She did it, and you let her. That night, he slept on the couch. We didn't talk about it the next morning, or the one after that. He went to work. I started therapy. Not marriage therapy, not yet. Just solo sessions. Because something in me had cracked open, and I needed to figure out what I was letting people walk through. 3 weeks later, we were invited to a family barbecue. Evan said Jenna had apologized. To him, of course. And maybe it was time to move on. I said nothing and got in the car. The backyard was full of people. Folding chairs, plastic tablecloths, kids running around. Jenna was in the center of it all, showing off ultrasound photos, joking about names, making everything loud. I stayed near the edge, sipping soda, making small talk with Evan's cousin. I tried to blend in. I really did. Then Jenna's husband, who clearly loved the attention just as much as she did, laughed and said loudly, Well, Jenna always knew how to command a room. That's why we planned the baby announcement for the wedding. Maximum impact, right, babe? She laughed. Didn't correct him, didn't glance around to see who heard. That was it. I stood up, walked over. Just so we're all clear, I said, you didn't make that announcement because you were excited. You did it because you couldn't stand not being the center of attention for one. And if that's how you're starting motherhood, I feel bad for your kid. Silence. Forked paused. Her mom went pale. Her dad looked stunned. Jenna's mouth opened, then closed. Her husband chuckled nervously and muttered something about jokes and timing, but nobody was laughing. I walked back to my seat calm. Evan followed a moment later. We left early. That night, Evan sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, and said, "You were right. I didn't want to see it, but you were right." We started therapy after that. Not because we were falling apart, but because I didn't want to live my life cushioning someone else's chaos. And he had to unlearn his habit of enabling it. We've been doing the work, together, real work. No more brushing things under the rug because that's just how she is. No more covering for Jenna. As for her, we're polite now. Civil at holidays, but distant. I don't initiate, and she doesn't dare try to overshadow me again. At least not to my face. She knows I'm not performing anymore. I'm not pretending to be the forgiving sister-in-law. I'm not making room for her at my table. And I'm definitely not giving her another microphone. Let her find another stage. Mine is full.